Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. I'm so glad you could join me today. I have a card for you that is a Christmas card, and it's a little bit unusual in that there's no stamping, there's only die cuts. And it's a little different and a little bit of fun, and so let's just get started. Okay, here is my card. So I used this time something that I hadn't used before, and that is this die, which is called Best Plaid Builder Die. It intrigued me when I very first saw it in the catalog, and I hadn't ever taken it out for a play. And this is reminiscent. Remember the plaids that we had last year? They were so much fun in the traditional colors, but in navies and greens and reds, and this was one of my favorite combinations. So what I did was I cut this piece of paper, and I made these all 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so they cover the whole card. It might be just a bit wide or a bit long, in which case you can just trim off any edges, but I really wanted this to cover the whole front of the card. And then I also cut one in the blue, and I cut one in the red. And so I've been just messing around. Then I cut the pieces that go across the card, and I cut some in silver to see what that was like. And if I put that on a navy blue base, there was that combination. Then I have cut one of those in the red so that I could put this combination together. I had a lot of fun with this. I just cut just about everything you can imagine, and I like that color combination too. I thought that was very striking. And then once you get started on something like this, it's hard to turn it off. So then I had a green base and a navy blue top, and a silver, or in that case maybe a green plaid over the top, or the red would be very pretty. So, and I just messed around with these, and then I happened to have on my desk from another project some of our pretty new foils. So I decided to repeat this card again, and I'll probably end up making 4 or 5 different ones, combinations of this, just because they're kind of fun to mess with, and I've already got a bunch of stuff cut out. But I decided, how cool would it be to do this using the green foil? So I cut a green foil so that we could do that one. Makes this one positively look muted, doesn't it? But I did my green foil with this card, and let's see, I'm missing a piece here. And I did my Merry Christmas, no, there it is. I did my Merry Christmas in the red foil, and then I did my gold, just like I did before. Isn't that pretty? So I thought we would make this card up, but using the foils this time. And as the result of punching out these, and let me tell you where those come from. So I used the Merry Christmas die first. Let me tell you about that. I used the Merry Christmas die from the Word Wishes dies, and I cut out my Merry Christmas in foil, and I also cut it out in red cardstock too. And then I cut out these pieces, and these come from our Stitched Stars, and it's this die. And as the result of cutting this out, you get a lot of these little extra stars that just punch out of here which is kind of fun. And then I also cut out these other stars that were in here, and then this swirl a couple of times. And that is what I used on the inside of the card. I put a green layer in, then a white. So this green, it's shaded spruce in this case, is 4 by 5 1/4, and then this whisper white is 3 3/4 by 5. Then I just put a whole series of stars down the side of the page, and I thought that was sufficient for a decoration for the inside. So now we have this one to do, and I cut out one of these in the red foil just so that I didn't even finish punching it out. I just wanted to get a few little red stars for the inside of the card. Now I will say that using these dies, which is the Plaid builder dies, on cardstock was a piece of cake. It just cut like butter. But when I went to go cut the foil, it gave me a little bit more difficulty. And it is because this paper is actually quite a bit thicker, and these little cuts are awfully tiny. So what I found that I had to do when I cut it on the foil is that I ran it through with a shim of a piece of cardstock over the top of the top plate, and ran it through a couple of times, and then it worked out just beautifully. And if you use your take a pick tool with your brush top, you can turn that over and get those pieces pulled right out. So that is the only thing I would tell you that was a bit more challenging, and that was cutting the paper with the foil. And the same thing on the on these and the star. I had to add a shim in all cases and run it through a couple times to get it to cut through the thicker paper. Okay, so we have all of our elements here. Move those dies out of the way. This was something one of the people on my team, Meg Scouron, sent me a little package the other day, and this is a it's called a pin bowl, and it's magnetized. So having this right next to your die cutting machine means that you can just throw your dies at this and it catches them, and they don't fall out. So I'm just enamored with this. I got it, just sent Meg off a thank you this morning, saying I used it all day yesterday and I had so much fun with it, and to thank her for sending it for me. And it's wonderful because it doesn't require anything extra. It's just magnetic and catches the dies, especially little tiny dies like these little tiny heart dies. I was able, or star dies, I was able to just throw them in the bowl. Okay, onward. Here we go. So I've got my Night of Navy card base, and is cut 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And then we are going to attach this piece, and you can see here, I think, yeah, you can see here that I have kind of a little bit of a rougher edge. So what I'm going to do is use Tombow to get this set on my card front so I can wiggle it around until I'm happy. And then I will slice off that little piece at the top, and it'll take care of those little imperfections, because then it'll be perfectly square. So I'm going to get out my Tombow, and there's plenty of surface here as the result of the way this cuts out to put glue. So I'm going to add glue here along the edges and in all of these square pieces, because I want this to hold down really well. Now I'm going to set this in place on my card. and set it down, and then use the fact that it's Tombow and allow it to wiggle around a little bit and put it into place on the front of my card. And I'm going to line that up so that it lines up perfectly with the bottom of the card and both sides. And if there's any part that's a little bit longer, it should be at the top. Okay, and I can see I'm getting a little glue residue on this, and I am almost positive that using a little bit of alcohol on a baby wipe is going to clear up any marring from the glue. And there it goes. Yeah. So if you happen to get too many fingerprints, and I noticed this one had lots of fingerprints on it too, a little bit of alcohol on a baby white returns that foil to its pristine shape. And there we go. All right. Now I can open this and test my theory. Yes, there's just a tiny bit at the top that needs to be trimmed away, and it is right at that place that I have those little edges that were there. So I'm just going to trim that off. There we go. And use my alcohol to take off a little dab of glue. All right, so there we go. Isn't that pretty? So cheery. All right, now on this one, it's the same thing. Again, I'm going to use my Tombow to set glue down on this. Use my tweezers to get this put in place. And I want this gold to pass right over the center of those Night of Navy squares. So I'm going to put that in place and hold it down for just a second and see if I can't get the Tombow to start to set. And I put glue right at the edges of all of those pieces and right in these center pieces here. So this should hold down pretty well. And if there's an edge that's not quite down, once this is dried a bit, I can pick up and then add a little bit of glue. But that looks to fit on here exactly perfectly. So, and that's without doing any trimming. So if you wanted this piece to be, for instance, 4 by 5 1/4, then you would have some trimming to do along the edges, and that would be fine. But I wanted mine to go edge to edge. I think it's so attractive. Okay, everything with this one is going to be put on with Tombow because I don't want to take any chances of it lifting up. So now I've got my little spray of stars, and I will add my Tombow again strategically every place there's a surface that's big enough. Now when I put this on, I don't know if there's an up or a down side, but I ended up putting it on this way, and I did it kind of across the card like that, and I'm going to do that and kind of hold that in place. And let that glue get on there and stick down just a bit. Okay, and again, I'll have to check this to see, like right here looks like a spot that doesn't have any glue on it. And so on something like that, what I'll typically do is put a little glue on my mat and pick it up with my pokey tool and try to put it right at the spot that I want it. And there, I think that's going to hold down pretty well. Okay, and I will check this once it dries a bit to see. That might be the only place it was kind of picking up. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing with the Merry Christmas. And going to put, there's quite a bit more surface on this one to put my glue because these letters are a little bit thicker than the stars. And again, I'm going to set this down at a bit of an angle. There's my Mary. I'll hold that in place for just a second. And then there is my Christmas. Isn't that just the cheeriest card? Oh my gosh. And it's so shiny. I thought about adding some, like some of the gilded gems on the inside of the stars, but I don't know that you'd even see them. There's so much bling on here just because of the paper. It's kind of fun. Okay. See, I'm going to have to hold a couple of these things. I think what I'm going to do is just, I have a big block here. I'm just going to set that down on there while I put some decorations on this piece. Now this is my 3 3/4 by 5. And what I have for it is this little swirl here. And again, I'm going to be adding some Tombow to the back of these. I'm going to set that one in place. And I think in this case, I'm going to add a little red star right up here. There we go. Then you can see what I did here. I just used the stars that I had to kind of cascade down the page. Now, I will say that if you're going to make several of these, I would do this in an assembly line kind of way, and I would use the paper that we have that turns your die cuts into stickers, because that would be a lot easier to do than putting the Tombow on each individual piece. And if you made them stickers, then you could go ahead and just put them into place. Okay, so there we go. Now this piece gets adhered to this one. Okay, there is my piece. Now we will put some glue on the back of this piece and set that into place on the inside of the card. And there we go. Isn't that fun? Now I have lots of stars left over, so you could Might be kind of fun to just sprinkle them inside the card and have them come out when they open it. Or you could decorate your envelope with them or anything. Anyway, it's actually, once you figure out your gluing down, and I would suggest on this that you do make these stickers so they are easier to put together. And then it would be a breeze to go through that. And let me tell you what that paper is. Okay, that paper is called Adhesive Sheets, and it comes 12 sheets to a package, and it is actually quite large pieces of paper here, so you could easily fit this whole piece on here. And then it's double-sided adhesive, so you stick your in this case your foil to this, then you die cut, and then when you get ready to put it on your card, you can peel the back off and it's sticker and it goes right on your card. And I would suggest this. I wish I'd have been thinking about that beforehand. But I think as I make a few more of these, and I will, it will be to use these sheets, and I can tell you on my blog how it went. So that is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator. Or you could join my team. Always a good time to join Stampin' Up! After the quarter end like this, your first minimum isn't due until the end of March, so you get all the way through Sale-a-bration at the first of the year, which is Stampin' Up's biggest sale. And it's actually quite a bit of fun, and you start out with a 20% discount. So if you're curious about it, give me a holler. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. But that is my project, and my prize draw for the month of October is Bundle of Your Choice out of any of our active catalogs. So, and all you have to do to get yourself in my drawing is to put an order of any size on my store, lbedinger.stampinup.net, or you can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. So that's it for me. I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!